It seems like the more people crowd downtown Asheville, the less we notice them.
They don't see everybody else.
Sure, sometimes we look at one another, but Jeremiah wonders how often we see people for who they are.
I don't know, there's a lot of freaking this everywhere you go.
About 1,000 people a day walk by me and look at me. And
meanwhile, the man known as Dog rarely gets a second glance. The first impressions, rarely good, he says.
Oh, look at him, he's a drug addict. Oh, look at him, he ain't ever gonna amount to anything.
In a sometimes cruel world, a kind greeting stands out.
What's up?
Zach Walters isn't one to walk around with blinders on.
Yeah, man. Some people don't know my name, they just call me the cameraman.
He takes pictures of the I would like to say the dirty aspect of life.
Oh man, you're coming at me strong today. People were very skeptical at first when I started coming out here with the camera. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
I'll be down here shooting probably until like 6 or 7, so we'll talk. The idea behind it is to show a different side of the city, the one that you don't see in magazines and tourist brochures.
What he ends up with is more than just a picture of struggle.
I'm on camera. Send me some shots of this so I can send to my future ex-wife.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a pretty shot, man.
A few years ago, Zach learned to combine photography with a sense of humanity.
I want to show people how people are feeling out here and, you know, capture the good and the bad. I don't really do stage stuff, but yeah, we can.
His Instagram account, Underneath Asheville, introduces followers to everyone from the homeless to street musicians.
I've seen him do some pretty awesome pieces on every single homeless person in this town.
These are the real people that actually live in this town.
Real people often ignored.
What he does is he documents people in the street.
A lot of times if you give respect and show love and empathy, it will be shown to you back. You got a lot of talent, man. Do you like it when people hear you, listen to you when you're playing?
Of course, yeah.
Do you mind if I do a close-up?
Okay.
Okay. Those are great. I can see my own reflection.
Zach sees himself in many of his subjects.
You know, actually, when I was 18 or 19, I was homeless myself for about 6 months. I was an addict. I had addiction problems. I've been in recovery, been clean for 7 years.
And his lens of life experience makes him more than just a photographer.
I didn't just take their picture and walk away. I stayed with them, I talked to them, I listened to their stories.
Which explains why Dog isn't afraid to open up.
Dude, I'm having a really hard time. Really bad.
Really?
Yeah, man, I don't have any motivation in my life right now.
Some people I'll spend an hour or two with, talking sometimes.
Dog's real name is Brandon. He's been homeless for a decade.
I'm a drug addict, man. I'm not happy unless I've been having a hard time on it.
I hear you, man.
He helps. I don't see many people helping out there. Not many people at all.
Every photo puts a face on the need for help.
I just got my bachelor's in December in psychology, and yeah, I would like to be a social worker. You mind if I take one more? Is that okay?
Trust doesn't happen in a flicker.
This is a trip, isn't it?
And by exploring what he calls Underneath Asheville,
it's good, man.
Zach's tapped into stories that speak to him.
Kind of documenting, you know, what's going on downtown, you know.
With every social media post, he hopes we all learn to see what he sees.
Because it's real.
He's a good man right here.
In Asheville,
Community.
John Lee, News 13.
Thank you.
A series of powerful images give us a sense of a big picture.
It really makes me feel proud.
Wall-to-wall heroism is the foundation of our nation.
This is the famous scene from Iwo Jima.
Almost 2 years ago, artist Jim Stillwell began volunteering his time at Charles George VA Medical Center. It's like he's painting the town red, white, and blue.
Every one of these on this wall is actually history going back to World War I.
The Veteran Mural Project may have been Jim's idea, but it quickly became clear he's not in this alone.
And as I got into it and had people coming by with suggestions and stories, I saw how important this was to the community.
It's looking good.
Along the way, Jim's enlisted a platoon of painters.
And we can get you set up so you can sit in your seat.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, that's looking good.
So we're going to have you work with this brush. I want you to work over this silver blue and paint anywhere within the blue area.
I enjoy painting this airplane.
First, Jim laid the groundwork by sketching the images in pencil. Then he welcomes veterans to help fill in the gaps.
Al, how you doing?
All right, how about you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Albert was an Air Force pilot.
When I painted it, it brings back good memories.
Bill's a Korean War vet.
Get out of my room and do something. This is supposed to be the carrier that I was on.
These are early jets that probably were flying about the time you were in the Air Force.
Who's got my paint?
For them, the mural project's as much therapeutic as it is artistic.
Yeah, it makes me relax. And
First of all, it's a stress reliever, but mainly it's an empowerment.
But even in his comfort zone, Bill could not escape the spine-related pain that stops him in his tracks.
He's in a lot of pain. Is it hurting?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to take a break?
No. I'll get it.
Okay. But as he gets into the painting, with a lot of art therapy, it takes away a lot of the stress and it gets him into another place.
Watching Bill paint in pain gave us a portrait of resilience.
It's so challenging to know that I can do what I want to do.
Even though there's a little bit of pain.
Oh, a whole lot of pain.
Together, they transform a once drab hallway into a corridor of honor. The spirit of America's heroes gives Jim all the inspiration he needs.
Yeah, it's really rewarding.
I hope they understand what we went through.
And no matter what the mission, it doesn't hurt
Yep.
to have a wingman.
You're doing a good job on that one.
thank you. You're doing a good job on yours, too.
In Asheville, John Lee, News 13. Like clockwork, the bells echo at the Basilica of St. Lawrence in downtown Asheville, the daily cadence of faith and hope. While they reverberate in a public setting,
it's been a long, long journey.
a far smaller bell resonates with Tina Lewis in her very private fight against breast cancer. At Mission Cancer Center, a poem explains the power of a simple but powerful prop.
Sometimes you can feel very hopeless and just be down, and that really affects your outcome.
The writing on the wall is meaningful. Ring this bell 3 times well. It's told to say, my treatment's done.
And for me, it signifies time of healing now and time to get back to life. Okay.
Her last radiation treatment has a nice ring to it.
At first I thought it was silly, until I just did that. And it just brings me peace, and it brings me hope for the future.
And nothing's more precious to cancer patients than hope.
Talk show. We are the Wise Guys. Pat Ryan and my merry band of contributors.
Back in September, Pat Ryan of Wise Sports Radio was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer.
It's great to have you in, Coach.
For 6 months, he took small steps toward the goal of ringing that bell. In the meantime, conversations off the air put sports talk in perspective.
I just want to live as normal a life as possible.
From day one, Pat realized he's not in this alone.
I never knew about the Cancer Center until I had cancer, and it is a world-class facility.
Frequent co-host Charlie Metcalf has been a rock. The longtime local football coach has been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma 4 times. On the day Pat got his alarming news, he bumped into Charlie.
If Pat's here in the cancer center, that's not good news. And so, we were thrown together there at that place and time.
Charlie was there for a reason, is kind of how I look at it. There have been steps that have given me positivity, and that was pretty much the first one.
Charlie often sat with Pat during chemo treatments,
working toward a special day.
I've just been like reflecting, and you know, the last couple of weeks it's just been thinking about where I was in October and September, and you know, where I am now. And
Recently, family, friends, and staff gathered around the bell.
Don't knock it off the wall.
I won't do that.
Nurse Renee Hawkins describes it as a milestone in an uphill journey.
It's kind of like they're mountain climbing, they reach the top, and instead of planting a flag, they ring the bell.
Here it is, 6 months complete. Yeah, to ring the bell is a bit emotional, and it signals the transition to the next phase of my treatment. So I'm excited for that.
We are so glad to see them come to this point because so many of them have been battling this disease.
Still knowing that people are fighting, it gives me hope.
J.J. Singleton has incurable colon cancer. He was once a linebacker at Pisgah High.
Had the whole life in front of me. Football is huge in my family.
J.J. was diagnosed with cancer in 2015 at 27 years old. After a battery of treatment, the cancer returned.
There's nights where I've, broke down and cried, and it's hard to put into words like what your emotional state changes and goes through.
Even though his moment with the bell seems unlikely, the sound is sweet.
I hear it all the time, and it makes me happy, and to know that people are actually battling and beating it.
Pat's big step led to a giant hug for professionals who take their jobs so personally.
I sure appreciate you. The care and the knowledge and the compassion and the kindness, it just goes a long way. I always look forward to coming here, believe it or not.
Whether it's Pat or Tina, every ring has the power to set the tone.
So I hope people take hope from it and know that it does end.
There's always going to be hope. You're always meant to have a purpose in life and to do something that can help other people.
The message that's as clear as a bell.
Thank you, guys. Awesome. Thank you.
In Asheville, John Lee, News 13.